Welcome to Chamber Chat, the business solutions podcast designed to help your company thrive. I'm your host, Charles Stannis. Are you registered and ready to vote in the next important election? In today's episode, special guest Nina Barbero sits down with Tommy Doyle and Jennifer Edwards from the Lee and Collier County Supervisor of Elections. Learn everything you'll need to know for the upcoming 2020 election process, including important information and deadlines.
The 2020 elections are quickly approaching. Are you ready? This is Nina Barbero for Chamber Chat, and today we're speaking with the supervisors of Lee and Collier County elections to share the information you need to make your vote count. Welcome to Tommy Doyle and Jennifer Edwards.
Hi there, glad to be here.
Me too.
Jennifer, what are some of the major offices up for election in 2020?
Oh wow, 2020 is a huge year, the big presidential election year. So that's the biggest office. And of course, we want people to focus first on the presidential preference primary, which is March 17th.
Tommy, can you tell us about the special election in March for the Bonita Springs City Council?
Well, yes. So we had a council person resign, which created a vacant seat that has to be filled by special election. We have actually talked Bonita into coinciding with the March 17th presidential primary to put the special election on that ballot, which will save them money and increase their turnout. And also on that ballot also will be some charter amendments that Bonita is putting on there also. So the Bonita citizens will have a lot to vote on, and everybody should go to vote, even the NPAs, the Republicans, even though it'll be a Democratic ballot.
What are the deadlines for candidates to register for that?
January 6th through the 10th.
Okay. For the primaries, when and how do people need to register to vote?
Well, for the presidential preference primary, people have to register to vote by February the 18th. And they can register to vote online or just call our office. But our websites, I'm sure you're going to provide, but it's colliervotes.com and
Lee.vote.
Excellent.
now you mentioned primaries. Of course, the August primary, and there was a change in law, and the August primary is a week earlier than it has been in the past, and the books closed for that one July the 20th.
Okay. Now, we have a lot of seasonal residents in town right now. How can they check to see if they're registered to vote here or in a different state?
Go to our website.
Yeah, you can check our website. They can fill in their information. It comes up, tells them where to vote, how they're registered to vote, but it won't tell them if they're registered in another state. They're going to have to check in that state. They shouldn't be registered in another state if they're registered in Lee County.
Right. Speaking of state differences, can you tell us about what it means that Florida is a closed primary state?
What that means is, in a primary in Florida, you can only vote for the candidates that are running in the party in which you are registered.
Okay.
So what that means, if you have a Democratic presidential preference primary, only Democrats will be able to vote for the candidate that will run against the Republican. Unless there is a challenger against the president, we won't have a Republican ballot. Some states have already decided not to have a Republican caucus or primary, and it's the Democrat and Republican elections. Really, they're the ones putting this election on to choose their candidate to run for president.
Okay, and that's like what you mentioned earlier, Tommy, that it's important that people still go to the presidential primary election because there are other things on that ballot.
Especially in Bonita, Fort Myers Beach are going to have charter amendments on there that every citizen will be able to vote for.
And in Collier, we'll have the City of Naples election on the March 17th presidential preference primary.
That's another special election coinciding with the presidential primary.
Well, they always have theirs.
Yeah, okay.
It's their regular council race, and it's always on the presidential preference primary.
How many eligible Lee and Collier residents do you estimate we have that have not registered to vote?
We don't keep that data, but our population is 750,000, and we got 460,000 registered voters, and I would guess probably at least 100,000 that are eligible or not registered. The rest of them, you got people who aren't citizens, people who aren't old enough to register, that are counted in that at 750.
Well, we're about half that big or less. Our county has over 300,000 residents. We have 202,500 registered voters, and we estimate about 70% of our residents are registered to vote. So there may be around 80,000 that are not, but Tommy makes a very good point. How many of those are eligible? And one of our areas of concern is, are they U.S. citizens? Because one must be a citizen of the United States as well as Florida to be eligible to register to vote.
So to help increase voter participation in these upcoming elections, do your offices have any special plans to do additional outreach?
Well, in Lee County, we actually love our what we call EDDMs, everyday direct mailings. So we'll have about 3 direct mailings go out. We've already sent out one for the presidential primary that gives you, it goes to every household in Lee County, about 400,000 mailboxes.
Oh, I got mine last week.
And it's an outreach where it gives the opportunity for people to learn how to register to vote. It gives them the deadlines, encouraging them to request a vote by mail, and hopefully that will increase our turnout. And also other things. We're out every day with registering people to vote, doing a high school challenge where we're not only registering high schoolers, but we are also giving them seminars or presentation on the importance of voting.
We do similar things in Collier, and we'll be mailing. We haven't mailed our notice of election yet, but we will be soon for the presidential preference primary. So we do mailings, and we have great staff in both counties that do a tremendous amount of outreach and activities in the community, as well as through social media and different forms of communication to remind people that the election is coming soon and how important it is to vote, and to also ensure they're election ready. That means, have you checked your voter registration lately? Have you moved? Have you changed your name? We want all of that information as current as possible so we can ensure we get the correct ballot style to our voters.
And I want to it's important they check their voter registration, because if you go to DMV to renew your license or you move to Florida, you want to make sure that that got transferred to our office properly, because we've had situations in the past where people go to a primary who had thought they were registered a certain way and it turns out they weren't. So it's very important they check that registration and make sure they're the party they want to be.
Right, and that ties back to the question you had earlier about closed primary state, because as Tommy said, if they think they're going to vote for a candidate in the Democratic Party, but it turns out they're still registered as a Republican, they're not going to be able to vote for that candidate they want to vote for. So that is very, very important. Go to our websites, both our websites, and they can check their status if they registered in our respective counties.
What we've seen the most is most of them show up at a primary and they're registered as an NPA, non-party affiliate. And I think, and we've been trying to work with the DMV on this, is that it's a default. If you put no change, it defaults to no party. Okay. And that has been a situation with us. I don't know if Jennifer's...
Even though we mail them a card,
right,
if there's a change, within 2 weeks, both offices mail a voter information card to the voter. And we ask them to please read that carefully so you can ensure that it's correct and you're registered in the party in which you want to be registered.
One more thing that we're doing right now is we are already hiring temporary help to train for next year's 3 big elections, because when that starts, when questions and phone calls starts happening, our regular staff are going to be so busy that we've got to depend on help outside, And these staff members are being trained on our voter registration system now, so they're up and running when the election starts. And Vicki knows what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
For voters who want to request a mail-in ballot, is that something they can do online?
Absolutely. They can go to our websites and request it, or just pick up the phone and call our office. And ours is 252-VOTE, and yours is
533-VOTE, isn't it? 533-VOTE.
When will sample ballots be available for the November election?
November? Well, usually probably about 3 weeks before the elections, we send out what you call an all-inclusive sample ballot, which every person who did not request the mail ballot will get, every household. In other words, you could have more than one voter in that household, but you'd only get one sample ballot. But you can go to your website, our website, and look at, we'll have your specific ballot on our website that you can print out and take with you and fill out. But what we say is request your vote by mail. That's the best sample ballot there is.
Okay, excellent.
And we mail also sample ballots about 3 weeks before the election, and we mail individual ballots to each individual registered voter at their homes. And of course they can go to our website and print their own sample ballot, as I'm sure they can elite also.
Oh yeah.
Are there any new strategies being used this year to make sure the voting system is secure?
Everything we're made aware of, we are doing. We have had visitors from FBI to Secretary of State's office, Homeland Security. They have come in and tested our networks, and if they make recommendations, we implement them. And we also have had federal grant money come through to all of the counties in Florida, and we've utilized those funds to do some upgrades and some training. So we're doing everything that we are aware of that we can do to be as secure as possible.
As far as the grant money, Lee County has probably spent $500,000 on cybersecurity, physical security, and training. And we do a continuous training for our human firewalls, which is our staff. And so we want to make sure they don't open a malicious email that would corrupt our system. We've been doing a program where we send out, we have a vendor who sends out fake malicious emails, and our reports are fantastic. Nobody's clicked on them since in a year. Not one staff member has opened one up.
Yeah, we do similar things in Collier.
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like voters to know that we haven't discussed to help get them prepared for the 2020 elections?
Just remember the elections are coming up really quick. That first election is in March, and we're going to do a primary for the presidential election candidates. And as Tommy said, those elections are for the parties to select the candidate that they want to face off in the November general election. So that's a very important election. And then coming up in the August primary, we share a congressional district, and that will be on the ballot. We have state rep candidates on the ballot coming up in the August primary, and we have constitutional officers. We're up for re-election in that August primary, as well as the other constitutional officers, such as the sheriff and property appraiser and tax collector and clerk of courts.
And just reiterate that August primary is also a closed primary, so you're going to have state candidates and local candidates, county commissioners that will be both of a Democratic ballot and a Republican ballot.
Okay.
So they want to make sure they're registered correctly during that election.
Well, excellent. Thank you both for your time. If you'd like more information about voting in Lee or Collier County, please visit lee.vote or colliervotes.com.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Chamber Chat. Don't forget to tune in next Tuesday for a brand new episode. You can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all major podcast platforms. Don't forget to subscribe.